story goes something like this. David was sitting in his new palace in Jerusalem, and suddenly, from nowhere as it were, the idea came back into his head that he'd made a promise to his great friend Jonathan. And the promise said, "I will look after your family if anything ever happens to you." And what David realized was that Jonathan had been killed in a battle some years earlier, and he'd forgotten about this promise. So then he inquired across the kingdom to find out if there was any descendants of Jonathan, of Saul. And what he found was the servant of Saul came to see him, a man called Ziba. And he said to Ziba, "Are there any of Saul's grandchildren or Jonathan's children left after the battles?" And the answer was yes, there's a young man called Mephibosheth who's got a disability. He's lame in both legs. So David sent for Mephibosheth, and he came in fear and trembling to the palace, unsure what David wanted to do or to say to him. And the beautiful thing about this story is that David springs, as it were, a great surprise on Mephibosheth. He says to him, I made a promise to your father Jonathan, and I wish to now fulfill that promise. And the promise will mean that all the lands that belong to Saul the king, your grandfather, will be bequeathed to you. And I will arrange for Ziba and his family and servants to farm those lands for you, and your income will come from that estate. And what's more, I would like you to come and live with me here in the palace. Well, Ziba, Mephibosheth was extremely surprised and grateful to David for such a generous gift. The point about this story is that it is an account of what happened between two people 3,000 years ago, but it's also a story that we all can be involved in. You see, in the story, King David represents the person of God, and Mephibosheth is you and me. We can share in this story. We can become as it were, sons of the King. And that happens when we put our faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. So bless you, and hope you understand this lovely story from 1 Samuel chapter 9.